Namaskar and greetings to everyone. It's an honor for me to welcome you at World Tracker English. दोस्तों, इसका क्या कारण है कि बांग्लादेश की प्राइम मिनिस्टर शेख हसीना को अपना देश छोड़ के भागना पड़ा? शेख हसीना को आखिरकार क्यों डिक्टेटर बुलाया जा रहा है? हालांकि फाउंडिंग फादर ऑफ बांग्लादेश माने जाने वाले मुजीबुर रहमान का स्टेचू तक को प्रोटेस्टर्स ने नहीं बख्शा। इन दिनों बांग्लादेश अखबार की सुर्खियों में क्यों बना हुआ है? तो साथियों, इस वीडियो के ज़रिए बांग्लादेश में हुए इस प्रोटेस्ट को और करीब से जानने की कोशिश करते हैं। तब तक बने रहिए मेरे साथ इस वीडियो के अंत तक, ताकि आपको हर जानकारी देने के लिए मैं हाजिर हूँ। इससे पहले हमें बांग्लादेश की हिस्ट्री में के बारे में थोड़ा नज़र डालना होगा। जैसे आप सभी जानते हैं कि ईस्ट पाकिस्तान यानी कि मॉडर्न डे बांग्लादेश का जन्म हुआ था इन द ईयर 1971, also known as the Bangladesh Liberation War. Then Mujibur Rahman became the first Prime Minister of the People's Republic of Bangladesh since 12 January 1972 till 24 January 1975, and later he was also appointed as the first President of Bangladesh since 25 January 1975 till 15th of August 1975. Unfortunately, he was assassinated in 15th August 1975. उसके बाद military took over and ruled the country for approximately 1.5 decade. Now let's directly jump into हसीना's most fascinating story, जो कि आप सुनने के लिए बेसब्री से इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं. So let's begin. She is the daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. There are two major political parties in Bangladesh, namely Awami League and Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Sheikh Hasina belongs to Awami League. She is also the longest serving prime minister in the history of Bangladesh. She was sworn in as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh for the 5th term on 11th of January 2024 until she was forced to resign from the post on 5th of August 2024. Now let's take a look at the root cause of the matter, which led to the recent students' protest and Hasina's flee from her own country to India on 5th of August 2024. Here we go. Bangladesh recently witnessed violent clashes between the police and mostly student protesters demanding an end to a controversial quota system that reserved 30% of its government jobs for relatives of veterans who fought in the Bangladesh War of Independence in 1971. Originally, the quota system was initially started by her father, Mujibur Rahman, back in 1972 after the liberation of Bangladesh, wherein more than 50% of government jobs in Bangladesh were reserved for different sections, of which 30% were for the descendants of freedom fighters, that is Awami League workers. However, after a similar type of student protest earlier, Sheikh Hasina had abolished the quota system in the year 2018. Then 6 years later, that is on 5th of June 2024, the old quota system was reinstated by the Bangladesh High Court. This is the major turning point which triggered students' protest, which was initially started from university campuses as they were against it and wanted to abolish it and stressed the government to pave the way for merit-based system. Initially, Ms. Hasina miscalculated their strengths and ignored the protest and passed a comment which upset the protester students when she said, "If not for descendants of freedom fighters, should we create quotas for those of Rajakars?" Rajakar is actually a derogatory word in Bangladesh, denoting those who backed the Pakistan Army's suppression campaign during the 1971 Liberation War. Students begin to feel like they have a limited opportunity based on merit. The protest, which initially began as a response to the re-established quota system for government jobs, quickly spread throughout the entire country because of the government's violent response, as well as growing public dissatisfaction against an oppressive government. The situation was further complicated by many other ongoing issues, like the government's inability to manage a prolonged economic downturn, reports of rampant corruption and human rights violations, and the absence of democratic channels for initiating changes. Later, as the movement intensified, Ms. Hasina resorted to a brutal crackdown by using the police force in her own student wing, the Chhatra League. There were violent clashes with the student protesters, during which several of them were killed. Further, citizens went through raids in which thousands of students, opposition leaders, and others were arrested for their alleged involvement in the Students Against Discrimination movement. A curfew was imposed on the midnight of July 19. Under pressure from students, the Supreme Court scaled back the quota on 21 July to 5%, with an additional 2% for ethnic minorities. While the students had won a major victory, they were not ready to call off the protest. Moreover, her derogatory remarks like Rajakars, referring to the student protesters, as well as her mishandling of the situation, which killed more than 100 of their fellow protesters, they were really not satisfied with the outcome. On 4th of August, they called for another round of protests with a new demand, that is, Sheikh Hasina should resign from her designation immediately. They also demanded accountability for the deaths of over 200 of their comrades. The Awami League then called for a counter-mobilization of its members. Dhaka, a mega city of 10 million people, was set for a major showdown wherein more than 100 people were killed in the violence in a single day. The government cut access to communication networks and ordered a curfew. Students urged for more protest on August 5. By that time, it was evident that Ms. Hasina's position had been substantially weakened. The military said it would guard its constitutional obligations but won't use force against protesters. Later, Army Chief Wakar-uz-Zaman, after holding a meeting with senior generals, informed the Prime Minister for the late night before she quit that his soldiers would not be able to enforce the curfew she had called for. This was the moment she had to decide her fate. In the afternoon on August 5, when protesters started moving towards her official residence, the Awami League leader, who was in power for 15 years, had no other choice than leaving her country. Therefore, she fled to India in order to escape and protect herself from the frustrated protesters. Later on 6th of August, the army chief announced that an interim government will be formed, which is going to be headed by Nobel laureate Dr. Muhammad Yunus. He was indeed a key demand from the student as well. Then the president dissolved the parliament, to which the Bangladesh Nationalist Party demanded fresh elections in 3 months. However, it is not clear what role the army, which had in the past directly ruled the country, would play during the transition. The interim administration would also find it difficult to bring in order after the chaos of the past month. There are already reports of widespread violence against Hindus, Ahmadiyya Muslims, and Awami League functionaries. Ms. Hasina may be out of Bangladesh, but the Awami League still has a presence in the country. Bangladesh definitely has some tough days ahead to deal with the chaos as well as the economic problems within the country. Finally, on 8th of August, Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus took oath as the chief advisor of the Bangladesh interim government. He will be leading an interim government of 17 people. Members of his cabinet who began work on August 9 have been given the official title of advisors instead of ministers. Most of the technocrats have been chosen for the relevant departments in order to run the interim government. This government will continue until a new parliamentary election is held and formed a new government. Election is supposed to be conducted within 3 months and form a new government. It remains to be seen whether the transition will go smoothly or will further continue with a new taste of political drama. That's all for today. I hope you will enjoy the video. I really appreciate your time. We'll catch you in the next episode. Till then, take care and stay tuned. Signing off.